Hey everybody, it's our last American literature class. We've almost made it. And good job on today's discussion board. A lot of participants, good comments, good questions, a lot of stuff you didn't bring up that I want to bring up to you about our story today. Sexy. And I'm coming to you from my sofa because I'm just feeling like I want to be comfortable today. I wish you were all here. Every so often I think, oh, we can't go to class. I'll have everybody over. And I'm like, no, that's not safe either. So, but anyway, that's the stuff I think about. And I'll do another little wrap up semester video. So today we'll move on and talk about Jhumpa Lahiri's Sexy. And good comments, Tamia, yes, good questions. I like that you made a lot of interesting remarks, and then you just wrote, well, I don't really get this story anyway, but you did because you asked a lot of good questions about it, and a lot of you are just as really perfect. A lot of you sort of brought in this and thought about that, and I can bring it all together for you today and tell you what the story is about. So let's start with that, and then we'll move into the details a little bit. Magnus got pretty good here. Miranda, I think, is just simply naive. Yes, Magnus, Miranda is naive. Naive, but growing. This is important, I think this story has a very positive ending, and I think it's a very positive story to end on this semester. Miranda grows up. She takes this experience, and at the end, she is sitting alone. That's fine. Contemplating, that's good. People don't do enough of that. And I think that with this experience, she is going to grow. And that's what we do in life. She's what, 22 years old or something like that? And we'll talk more about her growth as we go together. So Magnus, good job. A lot of you, so back to the main point of the story. I really like ending the story this semester with this. We started with Robert Frost, and most Americans' lives revolved around their farm, period. They left the farm to go to the store once in a while, maybe to church, but your house was your work was your house, your barn. It was all where you made your living and your life, right? It is a hyper-local world. Everybody knew everybody in small-town America. 2020. It's not like that anymore. We live in the era of globalization, and COVID-19, if it proves anything, it proves the era of globalization, right? It starts in China, probably, and then it goes from China to California to Europe, and then from Europe to New York, and then it's here in the United States, and now it's working its way inland, and it's in 100 and whatever, 80 other countries. Why? Because people get on airplanes, products and such, fly all over the world, and it gets carried around and around and around. So we live in the era of globalization. You look at a lot of things that you own, and parts are made all over the world, assembled in different places. Of course, a lot of stuff's made in China. But the t-shirt that you're wearing has been to far more places than you probably ever will be. It's probably made out of cotton grown in Texas, which was sent to China to be processed into fabric, and then maybe sent to another country to be dyed, and then back to maybe the United States or another country to be cut into t-shirts. It's crazy. There's a whole book written about it called The Story of the T-Shirt. That's just a t-shirt. So we live in a global world. You can communicate with almost anybody on Earth almost instantly. We get reports from all over the world in the news. And whether this is good or bad, I don't know. It just is. But this story is about that. I mean, look at the opening paragraph. It was a wife's worst nightmare. Okay, so we're back to this personal stuff like Weekend, but this story is much more about than people pondering their own existence. After 9 years of marriage, Lakshmi told Miranda her cousin's husband had fallen in love with another woman. He sat next to her on a plane, on a flight from Delhi, India, to Montreal, French Canada, and instead of flying home to his wife and son, he got off with a woman at Heathrow. So we have three different continents written about there that this guy was going to be on in one day. And of course, Dev, Mr. Cool in this story, who Miranda has the affair with whom Miranda has the affair. He, of course, is from India, educated in America, and now he's back in America, and he's a global person. And these people exist. I'm not one of them. I've been to Europe 3 times, which is nice, but I haven't lived there. But I've met these kids. My stepson just graduated from McGill University, yay, in Montreal, which is in Canada, but it's French speaking. And his friends up there, when I would ask his friends, like, where are you from? The answer was always this essay. I was last in this country, but my father was the ambassador to Russia, and then we lived in Indonesia. And then I asked his other friend, and she's like, well, kind of Vancouver, but really I was born in Bulgaria. And all of his friends, he's a local kid up there from Albany, Montreal. He's like a local. His friends have these long stories. They're not from anywhere. They're from the globe. And when they go home, it's somewhere different. All the time, and that's just the way it is. So we do live in this global era where there's this whole class of people who live everywhere, and they call the world home, I guess. So that's the life of Dev. Now, sort of this affair with Lakshmi's cousin is the backstory, and whether that gives Miranda the idea or finally gets her to stop it, who knows. Well, I think when she meets Rowan, who we'll get around to in the dress scene, she's sort of, that's what makes her really kind of get rid of Dev. But let's talk about Rowan a little bit. He's an international child. What is he? 10, and he knows he's studying all the world capitals. Like, he's insulted. Don't ask me state capitals. He speaks 4 languages, right? The boy speaks 4 languages. He's a child of the globe. So Miranda, so we'll start working through a little bit. So Miranda works at a public television, a public TV or radio station, fundraising, and of course that's a very global network. They cover things from all over the world. And she's at Filene's Bargain Basement, which is a famous Boston store. And she is negotiating her way past the people spraying perfume. And she stops and she buys some cosmetics. And then Dev spots her. And you just have a feeling Dev is just always on the prowl for some naive young country girl for him to have an affair with. And he's good. Let's face it, she is like a deer in the headlights, and he is a very skilled hunter. Whatever defenses she has against a charming guy like him, they're just not going to work. She is, to use a nice old expression, right off the turnip truck. She's got hayseeds in her hair, right? She's come from the Midwest to Boston, a large international city. It's not New York City, but it's still a large international city. And he comes up to her, and he is smooth. He's smooth, and he and Manly Pointer should have a smooth manipulation contest. I'm not sure who would win. His opening line, he hears her name is Miranda. His opening line, all right, the guy's back in, where's she from? Michigan? Don't talk like this. Part of your name is Indian. Oh. The man said, pacing his steps with her, so he's in step with her as she walks. She stopped, as did he, at a circular table piled with sweaters, flanked with pine cones and velvet bows. Miranda, Mira. I have an aunt named Mira. Probably doesn't. His name was Dev. He worked at an investment bank. That way, he said, tilting his head in the direction of South Station. He was the first man with a mustache Miranda had thought was attractive. They walked together toward Park Street Station, past the kiosk that sold cheap belts and handbags. And then she asks, when he has a little bag of cosmetics, "Are those for her, your aunt?" She's sort of inquiring there. "Who?" "Your Aunt Mira." And he says, "They're for my wife." He uttered the words slowly, holding Miranda's gaze. "She's gone to India for a few weeks. She's addicted to this stuff." And he's just watching her. He's holding her gaze, making that eye contact. And he does disclose that he has a wife, right? He's not going to lie about that. But he's kind of, yeah. And he's watching to see if it makes her wince when he says that. She's gone to India, so she's out of town. And he kind of puts her down a little bit. She's addicted to this stuff. So that's that. She's in love, in lust anyway. And they have a pretty crazed sex affair in her cheap apartment. And, well, I guess as affairs go, it's a good one. It's very, he takes her out, right? And he pulls her chair out for her when she sits down at dinner. He pays for things. He holds doors open. He reaches across the table to kiss her hand. This is how you... First off, this is how you should conduct yourself on a date, all of you out there who are going on dates with people. Her college boys, no offense guys, didn't do this for her when they took her out back in Michigan. But he sweeps her off her feet, right? He was the first to bring her a bouquet of flowers, so immense she had to split it up into 6 of her drinking glasses. She didn't have a vase. Within days of meeting, when she was at work, Miranda began to wish that they were as a picture of her and Dev tacked on the inside. She's like a schoolgirl, right? A third grade girl falls in love with a guy and writes her name, with his last name. Do kids still do that? And she imagines them together, and he's married. Imagines them together. He takes her to a Spanish restaurant. So he's exposing her to all of these international things. She probably grew up with potatoes and a pork chop one night a week, and maybe something exotic like spaghetti and meatballs the other night of the week. And that's how I grew up. I'm not putting Miranda down here. And to her credit, let's just hit the pause button here. Miranda is 22. She's moved from Michigan, where she had a pretty sheltered life, grew up in a development, went to a college, and now she's in Boston, trying to make it. She lives in a dumpy little apartment, doing certainly not a big time job, trying to get money out of people for public broadcasting, but she's out there and she wants to grow. She probably could have moved back home to her parents' basement and gotten a job locally and never gotten out. So this is someone who wants to grow, and she's going to take this experience with him and use it to grow. So we're getting close to our 15-minute time limit, so I will cut this off here and we'll pick up in a minute.